What's going on, everyone? What's going
Hey!
on, everyone? Happy May the 4th.
Hooray!
Happy May the
Hooray,
4th
hooray,
to you
yes.
all. Happy Star
Happy,
Wars Day.
Happy May the 4th.
definitely.
This is the way.
Happy Star Wars Day. And yeah, this is what is a limited special stream for everybody. Yes, our reaction to kind of
Hmm.
May the 4th, and we'll tie it into what we basically call, since we just really ended the first quarter, so really our first quarter review of Star Wars this year so far, and we would like to see in the future. So before we even get into any of that, let's let our guy Hitch tonight let you guys know where to find us at.
All right, not used to doing this. You can go to www.nerdcyclopedia.com, our website, to check us out. What do you want to see there? Podcast episodes, blog posts, random stories written by people that are on these shows. Go ahead and check it out, nerdcyclopedia.com. And while you're at it, follow us and subscribe and tell us what you like about us, not what you don't like. Just positive comments only, please, to nerds@nerdcyclopedia.com. And remember, we have a Facebook group, Carbonite Bounty BS. Join us there, talk to us there, post random stuff. What's up, Thomas? What's up, Chuck? How you doing? Subscribe to the YouTube. You're probably watching this on the YouTube. If you are, subscribe. All these shows are awesome, even this one. All right, that's it.
No, definitely a good lead into this. But yeah, guys,
There's a reason DP does that
right,
on most of the shows.
No, that was beautifully done.
it was,
Thank you.
I mean, that was gold, brother.
it was. I
Wait,
should have wore a cowboy hat today.
I got a question. I got a question for everyone. Who today didn't say something nerdy in Teams and get a team member to chuckle because you said Happy Star Wars Day to them and they were like, "What? Oh, I get it. May the 4th. Ha ha ha." So here's my. I'm just going to lead off. I used today to spread the word of this story that we love. Okay, because there are people out there that maybe they don't know what this is. Maybe they never saw Star Wars, and I really like what StarWars.com put on about what does it mean to you. Fan reactions, whether you're seeing it for the first time, whether you're seeing it for the thousandth time, what does it mean to you, and why do you keep coming back to it? And the important thing is that we spread this news, this media, and get as many people involved as possible, because let's face it, it's now a holiday. It's been going for several years now, and Star Wars has its own day, and that's big. I mean, religion has had a day for a long time, and now Star Wars has its own day. I think that's huge. So I want to say, who in Teams or email sent out a message to someone and got a chuckle out of them today?
Well, for free, I can say I didn't.
Listen, guys,
I did it like 30 times today.
I didn't.
I got the word out.
I talk Star Wars sometimes, but I don't want that to be my identity, honestly. So
Right.
it's not like I'm just like posting stuff all the time in Teams about Star Wars.
I'm beyond that. It is my identity.
I will say though, a big part of my job is running like Zoom meetings, kind of like this. It's weird. They're not as fun as this, but I have been known to pop in a Luke Skywalker X-wing as my background sometimes and do a little bit of piloting. So
and what's a big thing that we learned about in Andor? What runs this whole business? Payroll. It doesn't change. Fiction and nonfiction collide together. So let's face it, whatever you're doing, whatever your job is, whatever your function is, there is some way you can work Star Wars into it. Don't be shy.
So I'm a salesperson for a payroll company, which, I've told clients that we do the show, so they may have watched it before, which is one of the reasons I keep it pretty clean on the show. But that when they were talking, when we were watching Andor, I definitely was talking about, like, it felt like that show was like literally for me, because they were talking about payroll so much. Like, they said the word payroll over and over and over. And I thought that was like really uniquely hilarious, from my perspective. It was like working while I was watching Star Wars, which I like my job, so it's fine with me.
And you can connect that because Star Wars, there's a lot to it. And you know, another thing I did today is I delved into all the drops that we had on Disney Plus. I mean, 2 new series, 2 entire seasons dropped today in their entirety. Have they done that before? No. But we're
excited
going to talk about those
Visions.
later. But
I'm excited to talk about Visions when DP is available.
yeah,
next week.
me too. Me too. Visions
from his hiatus.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big day, you know. Not all, and the crazy thing is with, you know, you talk about Star Wars basically like being like a new world holiday, you know, Star Wars, May the 4th, right? I mean, the reach that it has now, and you know, it's one of those things. Like I understand, like they're the anti-Disney group out there or whatever, but what nobody can literally deny the financial backing that Disney has given this property, regardless of what we think about what Lucas sold and what he did. The fact that Disney has basically become a sugar daddy to something we love has been great. I mean, I'm seeing like collaborations with brands, companies never would. Literally, Starbucks in the store sold out of these limited edition mugs, which are really cool. They released the Cal Kestis lightsaber for 400 today with no blade, and it's sold out. A $400 lightsaber. It's a single bladed lightsaber for 400, and it's sold out on Shop Disney. I mean, their merchandise drops. I mean, it's crazy that the reach has become this, and what a cash cow it's become. That not only, you know, we talk about, you know, what this does for Disney, but it also, when they see the dollar signs coming in from it allows them to be able to then further invest those dollars, right? I mean, we see the fact that they're investing in 3 more movies. We got to a point that we were like, will they do another one, right? So now we have funding for 3 more movies in an industry, and you know, not to take this another way, but or maybe other properties aren't doing so well. You know, there's, you know, we have our, you know, ultra, as we say, or super fans that kind of slag off projects and don't like certain things, but it all isn't rosy over in the Marvel world as well. So, you know, they kind of, you know, stumbling a little bit on their projects, maybe eyes on other things, you know. So it's something that allows us to get back in that realm. And we'll discuss this over our special today, but just happy to have a day we can discuss with Star Wars. I mean, it's crazy, you know, like that we literally have like a holiday geared for Star Wars, right? If you think about it, it's like a holiday now.
I wonder, like what you just said, Team Mitch, like, so when Disney learned that Lucas wanted to, you know, sell the brand,
Potentially so, yeah.
Yeah. So do you think anyone said like, well, you know, let's double down. Let's back off. Let's think about this. I'm pretty sure that the pencil pushers said, no, go buy it. Go pay whatever he wants, because we're going to make 1,000 times that in the first decade that we own that property. I mean, let's face it, this should not be a surprise to anybody. No one should be surprised at the marketing power that this brand has. That shouldn't be. I mean, why does that surprise you that a lightsaber handle sold out on the first day that it was available?
I mean, it's for
$1,200 for that.
Yeah.
It would have sold out.
Well, I will say though, in fairness to Disney though, like there were other property, right? And the reason they did this, and they were smart, right? They gave them an amount that at the time was crazy money, that really wasn't crazy money in the grand scheme of things. But 20th Century Fox was going to bid on it. Universal was going to bid on it. Comcast was going to bid on it.
Wow.
So
imagine if those Minion branded trainings were instead like Star Wars branded trainings.
Like, think about it. So like these
even better.
They jumped the gun in this bidding war of a property, and you reason literally it was handled because of Bob Iger's relationship with George Lucas. That's really what sold the project to Disney. Is Iger flew out to the Skywalker Ranch. They sat down, had a lengthy conversation. He sat with Kathleen Kennedy. They laid out what Disney wanted to do, how they were going to fund it, and ultimately they were going to sell the properties, but in some case we discussed he was still going to always be around. So.
And Kathleen Kennedy, I think, was a big force there because she had already been part of the family. She'd already worked with Spielberg.
Yeah.
She'd already worked with Lucas.
Right.
She'd worked on big brands already that are still around today. I mean, they're making, there's rides, there's exhibits for the franchises that she was part of. So I think she was a big talking point, when that decision was made. But and when it was a slam dunk, I don't think I'm surprised at all that all this merchandising and geez, I wish I had bottomless pockets. I mean, there's so much cool stuff out there. So if you're a multi-million-dollar person, go buy stuff.
Yeah.
Go buy it and enjoy it and review it and write about it so us poor people can learn about this stuff and how cool it is.
Share the wealth of knowledge that you've developed with your money.
Yes. Yeah. Share the wealth.
Definitely.
I think the decision to buy Star Wars made a lot of sense for Disney. And it's really definitely the rich uncle you want to be in charge of this rather than Fox or Universal, who have seem to have so many more real world problems, although Disney is under its own stress today.
Right. And Fox had an opportunity 50 years ago to already have this posture itself to own this property, and they didn't. They didn't. They kicked it aside. They gave Lucas, I don't know, what was it, like $300,000 to film the first, A New Hope, and that's it. They walked away, basically.
And then they did his distribution agreement. I mean, what a great business deal for George Lucas, and 20th Century Fox, sort of like the Decca Records of the Beatles story. Gave him an audition.
Good analogy. Good analogy, nerd.
That's why I have this show. You can't hurt me with that word here. I am glad that it's Disney though, because it could have gone in a lot of worse directions. As far as it being worth it for Disney, the United States Congress has not shown a stomach to extend copyright protection longer than 95 years, which means Steamboat Willie's about to enter the public domain. And that means in a real-time basis, Mickey Mouse cartoons and the characterizations of Mickey Mouse are about to become available fodder for whatever you want to do with it. So what Disney's purchase is in a lot of ways synergistic, because it's not just that we're getting all of this additional cool stuff, so much more Star Wars than Lucasfilm was able to do without Disney. I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of volume that we're getting. But Disney also is going to get a property that's going to last until 2072 before any parts of it start entering the public domain, and that's a big deal for them because again, a lot of their older cartoons are going to start rolling out, and in 2045, we're talking about colorized Disney, like Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, like really, really recognizable cartoons that are no longer going to be available for them, and now this is going to fill the gap in. And of course, the other end is Marvel's going to fill the gap in.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a good deal for them in a lot of ways. And George Lucas, and the best part about this, I think, for us as Star Wars fans, because, I certainly want the person who essentially is the author of all this to be rewarded immensely. It's not like George Lucas sold and for $4.2 million or for $4.2 billion, and that was it. He actually got a bunch of Disney stock. So he made like $30 billion on the whole thing, which is great for him. And he can retire. That's a right off into the sunset money. If there has ever been right off into the sunset.
I'm pretty sure you could own the sunset at that point. So what are we talking about? Like someday Frozen is going to be out there for anybody to do what they want with, and you could have Elsa transform Hoth. And
you could, and that's actually happening now. I don't know if you guys have seen this. The A.A. Milne Winnie the Pooh has entered the public domain.
Like Winnie the Pooh murder movie.
Wow, that's something I'm waiting for.
So that's the sort of thing you can do once a character or once a work enters the public domain. You can do whatever you want with it. It's just the property of civilization as a whole. So that's something that is going to be happening in the next, in the next couple of decades. All of these marketable, recognizable characters that were created in the 30s and 40s and 20s are going to start entering the public domain. It's actually happened also with Sherlock Holmes. There's only a few stories, I think, and a few parts of that character you're not allowed to use. But you can basically make like any Sherlock Holmes story you want. You can make Sherlock Holmes do anything you want, stuff that would make Sir Arthur Conan Doyle very mad. You know, you can make him do anything. So yeah, that's what Disney's looking at, and these newer properties are worth the value, because, you know, there's no point in shoving all that money into the stuff that's not going to be viable. So now they have a new revenue source, and the reason they're also introducing all these new things is that the new characterizations and features and the new information that they enter into Star Wars now will not enter the public domain until like 2118. You know, that's a long time from now.
And I hope we're not around at that point.
I'm not joining that. I'll assume they won't make it. I'm assuming it won't be miserable by then.
Right.
I feel like they'll have that figured out sometime in the 90s at least.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You know, what was a big thing about today as well, being Star Wars Day? It's the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. So that was also cool that I saw. So they're doing a lot of 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi merchandise exclusively on Shop Disney. It's crazy we're plugging this. You know, if you want to send us some gift cards or anything, appreciate it, Disney. But yeah, there's.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about Return of the Jedi. How did that film? Because let's face it, that film propelled the franchise into the future. That film made everyone hungry for more. We wanted to learn not only about what happens next, but what happened before. So what I mean is A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back were sort of very concise stories, but Return of the Jedi opened up a lot of new storylines, right? Like we wanted to know more about the Skywalker family at the end, you know, when we started thinking about it. Because when I saw it, I was, Jesus, I don't know. I was like 17, 18 years old. You know, I wanted to know more at that point. I was thinking like, well, where did these guys, what happened with this whole thing? And now what happens next? So Return of the Jedi, I think, was a very important piece of this puzzle because it opened up a lot of doors. It's like what we are talking about Bad Batch and Clone Wars right now, like opening up these new storylines. I mean, what do you think? That's my, because I watched it today and I thought,
yo, the Emperor is,
the
Emperor is really in top form in Return of the Jedi, introduced with all those, like I love that they show you the level of like the rider the Emperor has versus Vader's rider, like what they have to do. When Vader's there, it's like a couple of TIE fighters and like, you know what I mean? A few things flying in formation, like 30 guys, you know, all the guys that like don't have other stuff going on. They're like, go stand over there and salute Vader. And then when the Emperor shows up, it's like dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of
Star Court press. They want everybody standing there. They want the Praetorian guards. We want 8 of them at least. You know, that's enough to fend off an entire Alliance army, right?
Yep.
Like the entire Rebel fleet could be just thrown aside by these guys because the Emperor's here. And
I love everything about the Empire, the Emperor's like style of that movie. I love it. I love the way he taunts him with your friends are trash. I know all about those teddy bears down there. But but he loses that. Like they fall into his trap, but he still loses. So I don't know.
Does he?
To me, it's the Emperor, man. And the Emperor is what sets everything into motion in the prequel trilogy. Because to me, the most interesting thing in Phantom Menace was knowing that this dude, right? It's just like basically the Ted Cruz in Naboo is going to end up as the Emperor. So how did that happen, right?
Right.
So that's an interesting thing that I really liked a lot. And of course, Ian McDermott's performance is, it's
exceptional,
ridiculously good.
It transcends because it connects. Because that's what's great, and they were able to go back and put him in, you know, in the special edition. They put him in, so it you know, there was a whole plan. But I feel like ROTJ gave the entire franchise the whatever the word I'm looking for the right word. It gave it the right to do whatever it wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Like
teddy bears killing soldiers. You got it.
Okay, we love it.
I love how at the end they're like, do you think they just took all the stormtroopers and like just put them in jail for a while. It's like no, they're like smacking the helmets and stuff. It's like no, those guys are dead.
Yeah, they're gone.
They
They're dead. They've been like they ate them. I'm pretty sure Ewoks eat flesh. Like
they were trying to put Han on the spit, right?
That's what I'm talking about. They would easily take a stormtrooper, strip him of his armor or her, and put him on the spit and boil them. 100%.
Is Return of the Jedi like the funniest Star Wars movie? I feel like it's probably the funniest one.
It is, because that's I think when they start introducing humor. To me, Return of the Jedi was like the first, like, when we watch all these new Marvel projects and everything now, all these new movies, that's like this. I felt like this was the basis. And coming back to this, think about it. Return of the Jedi was the first film that you really saw the villain become kind of the anti-hero. So Vader became the hero, right? And they've tried it before, but this is the first series that really made that villain flip and become really that good person, so to speak, in a good way. They've tried it in other stuff in the past before, but I felt like when Vader made that switch back and Return of the Jedi, like it really is the basis of now. I think every series has the classic flipperoo, right? The anti-hero. The new word is anti-hero, right? But really they're like the villain who becomes a hero. So I felt like this was that first really solid movie that really established the anti-hero type character, to make it kind of go back and forth and question what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by funny? Like, do you mean like
so like for instance, like I think it's hilarious that Han basically kills Boba Fett accidentally. Like that's funny. I think that the fact that like I think the fact that they get in that they get like caught in that net and Han is like making telling Chewie, you always think it with your stomach. I think there's just a lot of those types of moments in this movie. Mm-hmm. I think even the Ewoks get a lot of comic moments. They also get that tragic moment when one Ewok is the one casualty face facing the Legion of the Emperor's best troops.
And that's a common thread through the entire story, is that sort of lighthearted, like there's this awful situation going on and someone's like
Return of the Jedi, and in Return of the Jedi, like in the beginning of the movie, Luke walks into the throne room and there's like an extended musical number for no reason. You know what I mean? Like that sort of stuff happens in this movie. And I think it's funny, as you know what I mean? Like,
in the special edition, they added that, right? So in the
yes,
original,
and I believe, Ken, there has been a verdict on those things that has been delivered in the nerd court.
And
I believe still behind. I can bring this up as being
there's no precedence on that. You gotta look at the original right on a lot of these things, because when they did the special edition, a lot of things went a little bit weird. But I'm completely for whatever version of the film you like to watch.
Judge DP is going to be upset when he returns.
Hey, he can come at me with whatever he wants. I mean, he's a little bit biased because he's a father. He's a writer, and he understands the passion that's put into things. And you want to do a rewrite, But then the fans have a say too. They, maybe I don't like it, But
Ken, would you consider that an era of Kathleen Kennedy's?
That's a good point. I don't know. If she was around when this whole thing happened. Maybe they're going to go back. Maybe they're going to take the special edition apart. And
you don't think she wrote off on that? She signed off on that?
Not at that time. No.
We should see some special. I mean, while they have Rosario does. I mean, maybe we ought to see some special edition Ahsoka prequel trilogy scenes sort of dropped in there.
I think
that's this character that nobody has ever mentioned is very integral to the plot of these movies. Perhaps she ought to make an appearance.
I think the special edition, the Star Wars trilogy, the original trilogy special edition, that was all George. It was all his. That's all he wanted to do.
But it was because he didn't have the capital to do essentially what Disney's doing now. He had to fix these other movies rather than just make new stuff.
Rather than pay for airplanes,
he had to start somewhere.
Airplane,
yeah. Because obviously he could have just fixed this stuff in post like they're doing now. You know what I mean? Like how they're fixing the sequel trilogy in post. They're like, no, it's all about putting Force and clones.
And I
The
don't even
whole
think,
thing was about that.
and I don't
It
even
isn't that
think in
great.
Nerd Court did we talk about Return of the Jedi and that particular scene that you brought up.
That's correct. I
'Cause
did
that's
not even have to bring
interesting.
that up.
But that's interesting because that scene to me seems, like you said, sort of out of place.
Mhm.
Like, here comes Luke, Jedi Knight, Jedi Master, Luke Skywalker. Now, we haven't seen him. Last time we saw him, he was handless and at the bottom of the barrel. Like, he was pretty much whooped. It was the darkest moment in the entire saga. Han was gone, Luke was damaged, bad. Lando Calrissian is now flying the Millennium Falcon again. We don't even know why at that point, right? And now we have this new story, and they drop this like weird rock and roll segue thing into the middle of this thing, and it's like kind of weird. It's like it was just a little bit odd, but I've gotten comfortable with it. You know, I get it.
If Star Wars is a religion, that's a hymn. Just so you know, that's on the list. Like, that's one of the ones they do that, and they sing that song when they pass the plates around at the Star Wars church.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uni Tang. Yeah. That's on everybody's. Everyone's singing that, right? And the Twi'lek dancers in the background, and Boba Fett's like getting phone numbers and everything. I mean, that's very cheese. That's a lot of cheese in there.
I feel like first of all, the Star Wars church would 100% have a dancing Boba Fett in it. I mean, I don't know. I think if there was a Star Wars church, you would be hard pressed to keep it devoid of dancing Boba Fetts. I think there would be no way you wouldn't get people cosplaying as Boba Fett and losing their stuff in there. I feel like that's like half of what it would be people like, you know what I mean? Like, you'd never be able to get rid of dancing Vaders from the Star Wars lexicon either.
Yeah, or dancing stormtroopers.
You know? Maybe in a Star Wars musical, that'll be the next thing.
Well, they did that. They did that at the Celebration 2 and 3.
Yeah,
there was a guy that did Star Wars the musical by himself. He did the entire trilogy. It was an amazing show. He did it in like 25 minutes. I forget the guy's name, but it was breathtaking.
Don't forget the Star Wars gangster rap from when we were like in school. Flash animations. Where have you gone?
You know, it's interesting when we bring about this day as well, and the more we discuss like all these stories over the years, like, it begs to differ because, obviously, if you don't know, there's now a Hunger Games prequel about President Snow, right? And it's like whatever. So like,
the dumbest economic setup ever. Like, you know what? We want these people to give us coal. What should we do? I don't know. Not give them money. That's the easiest thing to do, is just send a whole bunch of soldiers there and have to have a bunch of stuff there to make them do stuff instead of just
they're going to show how the odds will never be in your favor.
No, it shows.
Is that what they're going to do?
It shows Snow becoming President Snow and how his rise through like the Hunger Games is, and it made me think, like, when they do like the prequel of like the villain or whatever, Snow, like, we need to see a Sheev series. Like, it's going to have to be Disney Plus because they're not going to do a movie. But we've discussed it, right? Like, we have the Plagueis books, really, but I'd love to see that on Disney Plus, like a short, what they call that, limited series, right? And let's get up to like a teenage to young adult Palpatine and him developing his powers. And I mean, for all we don't know if he was always a Sith or a dark user, right? We really don't know. So that will be really an interesting story to see. I think
they might be doing that. These, and we'll not talk about it, but these Vision series, like, there's some interesting offshoots of lore,
right?
So I'm talking about the first one, episode one of season 2, episode 1.
Yeah, 2-1.
I know we're not going to talk about it now, but it had a lot. Like, I watched it a couple times, and I was like, maybe this is this is where it started, because there was a lot of Sith, and then there weren't a lot of Sith. And why weren't there? Because maybe they evolved, they changed. Right. And it made me kind of think, maybe the Sith aren't that bad, like we talked about it.
I swore I said that.
Well, I know you did, and I didn't disagree with you. It was other people, and maybe the
Other
Sith.
people.
I feel like blowing planets up, killing kids. I mean, I don't know, guys. Like for me, those guys are tying ladies to railroad tracks.
Yeah,
Like that's their
right.
whole deal. Like they're not that bad.
Wow.
I mean, come on,
Dick
They're
come
Dastardly.
on.
Straight Dick
They
Dastardly.
build a thing called the Death Star. They're not good. They literally call
Well,
it
yeah.
the Death Star. Like what? And then they get another chance to name it
Hey.
something else. And what do they call it? The second Death Star.
At no point did Tarkin or Vader call that a Death Star. They called it a space station. We called it the Death Star. They didn't call it anything. They said,
Hitch, he might be on the Sith payroll as well as Kathleen Kennedy's.
Mm-hmm. That's it. I'm cutting the episode. We're done with this.
But no, I mean,
as soon as I get challenged, I'm like, we're done.
Ken makes it a good point, though. But also, like, I think when we talk about these blurred lines with the Sith, I mean, they've just introduced new lore. We'll find out in, Ahsoka. I've been playing, what's that, the new Jedi Survivor. And they go into the lure of the orange lightsaber meaning as well. So this whole dark Jedi, kind of gray Jedi, maybe middle, balance of the Force or whatever, imbalance in the Force, and not really picking a side. I think it really starts to blur that line to see, well, if you're not a Sith, if you're not a Jedi, you're an outcast of either. What are you? So they're really starting to tie all these storylines together that we debate about, which makes it cool. Like, because the thing about it, if we sit here every week and talk about this, I'm sure the guys in the storyboard room, I'm sure they're like, well, what about this? What about that? Like, I mean, I think it would be great if we can, and I'll try, but if we can like find somebody to like maybe interview somebody that can't give us classified information, but like, like a storyboard, like, what do you guys like? I mean, because they're fans, right? I'm sure they sit there and think about the same stuff we do, right? Like, how do we flip this? How do we flip that? Like, what goes into a really
loading on this show?
We're not at that budget yet, buddy. I wish we don't have that budget yet.
But we have to be likable, right? Aren't we?
Yeah.
I don't know about.
Yeah, it's one of the
maybe not individually, but maybe as a group we're likable.
If we ever had a phone interview, like that, it would have to be taped. If we, the red tape we'd have to go through to get that. It wouldn't air live. We wouldn't be able to sit down and do this for sure.
Yeah, I think that might be a little bit over our heads, bud.
Yeah. The red tape we have to go through, man. Yeah, that's actually kind of stressful, to be honest. It'd be fun, but stressful. But as we and the fans, we keep pushing forward in our content. It's definitely stuff we like to delve into and bring to you guys. So definitely. Ken, you're a big Disney fan as well. And we talked about this. The planet of the Black Spire Outpost, Batu, is it? Is that what we call it? Whatever.
Yeah.
It's Galaxy's Edge. So that's been canonized, and obviously that's like a big deal to moving forward. They announced today. So I believe that will be. You'll see that in more properties as well as we move forward into this new Star Wars. I won't be surprised to see it on screen soon as well. So.
Yeah. And you know what I like today? I checked the ride wait times for Smuggler's Run and Rise of the Resistance, and they were well into the 120 minute, which Smuggler's Run hasn't been over 80 minutes in a long time. But it was 125 minutes at like about 2:00 this afternoon.
Well, was Rise 120 minutes because of ride downtime or just legit?
No, I did not see any ride downtime for Rise today.
That's cool.
So I think, now 2 days ago it was down.
Oh, it's down.
So I think they got it fixed, but I thought that was really interesting. And I also looked at the ticket price for today was the highest of the month. It was $138 to buy a ticket to Hollywood Studios.
Jeez.
So there's definitely, and that's all surge pricing, and that's the way I gauge kind of popularity with Disney and with this property. And whereas the rest of the parks were kind of down, they weren't as popular. So I would love to be in Galaxy's Edge today. I think that place would have been just mobbed, and a lot of fans, a lot of kids, wanting to experience this and to be at the Mecca on such an important day, for us. It's just perfect the way the the way it is. So,
Yeah. Plus the food offerings they had today in the parks were
oh,
really
it was
cool. So,
ridiculous, right?
right. Yeah, it's one thing I haven't done is went on Star Wars Day or this early, really in May. Maybe it's something I'll look forward doing, being the annual pass holder and all now, right? So,
Yeah, what's wrong with you? You should have been there today. Come on, man. You blew it. That's it.
It's only like what, a 20-hour drive? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
it's a 2 hour, it's a 2 hour or an hour and 50-minute flight.
Yeah, that's
Southwest.
it.
That's it. There's no drive. It's Southwest.
I'm a driving guy.
Regardless of the fee, it's Southwest for sure.
Spirit Airlines. I like to get there with arguments.
Hell no.
Oh, I tell you what, I will
Hell
fly
no.
Spirit anywhere. Those guys,
Hell no.
the people, the employees are what make that company great. Now, the plane might fall out of the sky, but the employees will keep you laughing all the way to the ground.
When I found out that you couldn't use my seat cushion as a flotation device, it was the last time I flew on one of their planes.
You know what? Because it's not going to be an aquatic vehicle at any point. Because Spirit Airlines does not cross the ocean. Why do they need them?
The last time I flew Spirit. One and only time.
No flotation device. Is that going to come up? I really don't think that's going to come up and take it.
Well,
bring your own.
When we tie that into our guy on Andor, right? He could have used one.
He could have used one, couldn't he?
And they just released it. He did survive, by the way, so he is not dead. That was a cool thing they did.
You can't get rid of that character.
No, they
announced
that
guy's got to come back for sure.
They announced that he made it. They didn't say how, but they announced that he's not dead.
That character is like a Wookiee suit, right? Like they didn't just make that Wookiee suit for one episode.
Yeah, they're going to keep him around because he was great. He was really great.
Oh, speaking of, we never discussed this. Black Chrysanthemum. We didn't see him in Mando. That's a little bit of a miss, right?
You're right. That's a little bit of that is a little bit of a Chekhov's Wookiee.
He was more with Boba Fett. He was more in that timeline than Mando.
Well, why did Boba Fett? So here's a question. Here's my question: is you would think of it when they were, getting the Mandalorian Avengers together, they'd have gone to Tatooine and been like, "Yo, the guy that has like the most money that's a Mandalorian, do you want to like help us with this?" And they didn't, and that's why he didn't show up. And that's weird because it seemed real tight last year.
And that's funny you mentioned that because that's a check that was written that was not cashed. So
we didn't use Boba Fett's ship either. We didn't get to see his ship. Would have helped, right?
The ship of Boba Fett.
That was Slave One, bro. I don't care.
No, Slave One. I'm not calling it.
That's not like, I don't know.
It's a computer term that is not in use anymore because people don't like thinking of slavery, which I guess is.
And I don't like the slave, but I don't think that's what the
exactly
name of the ship was.
That was a reach. That was a reach to say like that tied, but that's another discussion.
It's a nautical term, right? And enslaving a ship to another meant binding it, meant like shackling it to another thing.
Which is what the whole thing. That's what they were trying to get away from.
Trying to get away from it. So I get it, and it makes sense to me. And it's like what? Because you don't want. I don't know. You don't want kids thinking that's because that's not that stuff. I guess is part of the context of Star Wars too, right? Man, because Anakin's a slave, and the whole slave oppression dynamic fuels his desire to obtain power. Not that they really did a great job fleshing that piece out, but I think it does.
Shmi Skywalker was the slave too.
Correct.
Right. So that's all in the story.
We come from a different era. We're relics at this point. We're holocrons, right? I mean, I'm waiting to see my.
It's very true. It's very true. If you watch like season 3 of The Office, it's obvious that things have changed a lot in the language, and I would say probably for the better. But it's very different. It's very different.
You couldn't re-release The Office.
Words would just zing around like what I mean, like a bolt in the air, like. Pew!
Yeah, nah. If The Office came out now, the show every actor would be out of Hollywood.
Yeah, it would be banned across the board, right?
They tried Parks and Rec, and then they got risky, and that was it too. So yeah, it's one of those things in this era. You have to be really, really, really rigid in your comedy.
One day, Team Mitch, we will do a Parks and Rec versus The Office episode of a show. we'll do
Oh,
it because
yeah,
I
right.
I don't know how I would choose, and for a long time I feel like my answer would be Parks and Rec is better than The Office, but lately I have been really watching it on Peacock. I've been watching like season
Right.
3, season 4. I'm at that the beginning of season 5 right now. So, it's really growing on me. But Parks and Rec, I don't know. It's got Parks and Rec has that Amy Poehler performance. It's one of the best in the history of television. Maybe the best female like comedy performance since it's something Lucille Ball did, and
Right.
it has Ron Swanson in it. You know, I mean, it has Nick Offerman in it. So, and like the random guy in it is Chris Pratt.
Exactly. And hey,
So,
Next to Jurassic Park now.
I will say this in my one final tangent off of Star Wars, right? Chris Pratt, please go back to being, or no, Chris Evans, please go back to being
Steve Rogers.
Steve Rogers. Bro, I saw that Ghosted. I turned it off after 40 minutes. For Apple Plus to put all that money in that, bro, go back to being him. He's a good actor. That's a bad movie. That's not for you. I don't know.
this is how the art works. This is cyclical.
It is.
It's like how
I
bad,
see why. Yeah, I see why John Boyega's going back.
it's like when
because,
Sean Connery came back and they remade Thunderball
yeah, I
in
mean,
'85, right? Not
well,
a real James Bond movie, but a James Bond movie.
yeah, but look, Harrison Ford came back and made Blade Runner in 2040. You know, what I mean, come on.
And Star Wars.
He's ageless, so it's tough. He might be the anomaly, but like I'm seeing some of these actors doing other projects. I'm like, yeah, you might want to go back to the bread and butter, my guy.
It's really true. I really feel like that's like Han Solo is the one character that I don't know. Like I know I've said that I think they could have put his face on Aaron Rick's like performance and it would have looked right, but I think that's the one. That's the one you're not really going to be able to do that CGI stuff with, just because like Harrison Ford's so famous and has been continuously famous over so long that you have too much. I think there's too much mental imagery to compare to.
Right.
And he
It's
is
like
that character.
Yeah.
He is absolutely that character, whether he buys into it or not. Because I mean, there's a lot of like he doesn't like to, dig into it. He doesn't go to signings.
You can tell it's forced. Even at Star Wars Celebrations, his like recorded interview,
yeah.
like
he doesn't buy into all that stuff. But when he's on camera, he's Indiana Jones. He is Han Solo, 100%, and nobody can do it like that. Nobody has that ability. But the guy, and I don't know his name. He's like to me, he's what else has he done? But the kid that did Solo captured that young Han Solo pretty good. Like he studied a lot, like Ewan McGregor doing young Obi-Wan. He got into the role and he did what he needed to do. But Harrison Ford's an anomaly. I mean, I can't think of an actor that is that standoffish but still gets the paycheck.
Right.
I mean, he's been like one of the 10 most famous people in the world for 40 years. So
forever. And if you see that guy, what do you think of? You either see a fedora on his head or an E13 blaster in his hand. I mean, there's only
smoking as he holds it like this since he fired first.
Yeah, right, because he fired first. And that's another thing. Oh, we're not even going to talk about that because I got ostracized in nerd court.
Yeah. It better be nerd court rather than real court, right?
Castle law. Castle law. If you are in fear of your life, which he wasn't because it's a Rodian, he can't shoot anything. Look, their eyes are on opposite sides of their head. How can they shoot straight?
I don't know, but he was trying to turn him in. I mean, they made it very clear he was going to take him so Jabba could do whatever he wanted. Yeah. And then Jabba finds him anyway. And Jabba let him go.
2 movies later.
Yeah.
Well, not eventually, I guess. Yeah, I guess you're right. He did eventually get his comeuppance from Jabba.
Right. Yeah. But to wrap up our little special here, just want to go around the panelists. I know this is something we discussed as well as kind of, our final thoughts and what do you want to see moving forward for the rest of the year? Is this kind of like I said, our really May the 4th special, but really it's quarter one check-in so far as Star Wars. So Looking forward to the rest of the year, Ken. What are you interested in, or what are you excited about?
I want to see them continuing to develop this new universe, this new story. I want to see them continue to not make mistakes, because right now they're not making any mistakes. I know Bad Batch was a little soft with some of us, but to me, I feel like it's still a pretty strong story and it ties in. I want to see continued development and passion in this franchise. I want to see things that'll make me keep coming back. I want to see new stuff. I want to see this. I want to see this story, this new character they introduced me to. I want to see an entire backstory of that. I really like what we saw today. We're not going to talk about it though. We'll wait till next week when DP's here. But I really like what they gave us today on this most auspicious of all holidays, bigger than Halloween.
In our court in itself as well.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm just looking.
We'll just keep adding these dockets up.
Yeah. Whatever.
What about you, Hitch?
To me, I'm so excited for Ahsoka, and I feel like they've been laying the breadcrumbs down to make this so epic. I mean, having the de-aged Aiden Christensen show up in the Obi-Wan series feels like a test for that. Having Zeb show up in this season of Mandalorian feels like a test for that. I'm ready to see the whole Ghost crew, and I feel like Ahsoka has this opportunity to really reframe like what core Star Wars is, and introduce these cartoon characters into the real like canonical mainstream. And I think that Ahsoka is going to end up with a Mandalorian sized audience. I think that's going to happen. So I am just so excited to see them really execute on a really good season of Ahsoka. And I think that is going to be, a real game changer moving forward. The introduction of Thrawn, it's going to be a real new nexus point, like the same way Mandalorian is. A Mandalorian is now spawning all these different other series. I feel like that's another connection point that could yield a lot of really great stories in the next, 10 years. So I'm really excited for Ahsoka.
Yeah, and to finish up, I kind of piggyback on what you said. I felt like Ahsoka's what I really, really want. These shows have been great, right? Andor has been phenomenal. Mandalorian has always been phenomenal, but to me personally, I want to get back to the core. I like the Force. I like everything about the Force. I need to see more. I need to see more lightsabers. We were teased, with Obi-Wan and that big lightsaber fight, and from what I hear, I mean, this is going to be very, very, fight oriented, more of the traditional samurai type style. So we'll see a lot more fights and whatnot, and we'll see the Force in new methodology of the Force. So I guess my only takeaway to Disney is I just wish that they take a little more risks. Hopefully they will with this show, and I think they will. But we talked about it. We introduced live Cad Bane. Is he dead? Is he alive? Like, I just feel like some of these properties, some of these characters, they kind of like come and go too quickly. Just take a risk and keep them out there, or leave us that kind of what if story. We talk about wanting to see a Star Wars what if, but there's a lot of stuff they introduced to us, whether it be Cad Bane, whether it be somebody else, that I felt like it was like in and out, right? Like they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
I just like to see that little more continuosity of some of these characters that were really cool, and then you just see them and they go, right? So that's like my only gripe is like I would just wish, if they keep people like that around a little longer, or just try a little more. There's a lot of characters we've seen in these shows that were just like background noise, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a what if is. I want to see the Anakin Ultron episode. You know what I mean? Where he wins. Yeah. I want to see what happens when he's like, instead of like, teams up with Mace Windu and kills the Emperor and then kills Mace. Like some real crazy like that going on. Man, that would be great. But
that would be a Visions thing.
That would be cool. I would be down if one of these, and Visions is sort of its own thing stylistically, and we're going to talk about that next week. Right. But I would be down if they did one that was, in addition to being the different studios, it was also, and this is going to be alternate outcomes or alternate realities or whatever.
Right.
And this is the French Star Wars universe.
Right. I mean, think about it. That if they did a what if, that can go on for seasons. There's so many storylines. What if, Qui-Gon didn't die, right? What would happen? Because you can't have two Padawans. So
What
like,
about Anakin just being some well-adjusted guy? Like, you know what I mean? Just like he's got,
and
you know what I
and,
mean? He's just
and
fine.
didn't want to kill everybody and
he
didn't
wouldn't
get
have.
angry.
He wouldn't have done any of that.
Hmm.
Because I mean, think about it. Qui-Gon really was like the father that he didn't have, right? So that I think it would have been a whole different meaning. But maybe that'll be a Carbonate Bounty BS. We can maybe try to think about. We'll talk about maybe putting up some. We talk about being writers here. Maybe we'll do an episode where we present our own what ifs. We'll all take a topic on and we'll just do like a kind of maybe 5-10 minute read of our what if story and something like that. So I know we got a lot of a little bit of free time here in the summer, so
Yeah,
maybe we'll do a special edition for that leading up to Ahsoka of maybe our Star Wars what if stories.
that could be fun. I'm down for that.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. But once again, guys, I thank everybody for coming on again. Definitely happy that hopefully everybody got to enjoy May the 4th, our nerd Star Wars holiday. For the West Coast, you have a couple more hours. Everybody on the East looks like we have like 33 minutes left. So if you want some Sarlacc juice, a Surly Sarlacc, or whatever you want to drink, that's my drink of choice, so to speak.
And make sure you say to somebody that may not know what Star Wars is, Happy Star Wars Day, because we got to make this a thing. It's got
Just
to be
make
a
sure you
thing.
go up to them like this. Have you heard the good news?
I thought you were going to say you can save 33% on your car insurance by switching to Vegas.
Have you heard that? Have you
Not
heard
trying
that
to
if
be
you have a
creepy.
structured settlement and you need cash now?
Right, right. Another commercial. I think that's a Northeast thing. So for you guys, don't know, yeah, that's probably like a regional commercial. We only get in like the
Nah,
Pittsburgh region.
I very much believe that JG Wentworth is nationwide. In my heart, that's a nationwide
JG
company.
Wentworth.
I
Well,
can't
it's just
believe
like and
they
a
have a
funny thing.
different one. Do you think they have a different one like New Mexico? Like it's not
Probably.
JG
There's
Wentworth?
probably some other guy. I mean, like, look, I mean, like, bro, I feel like Edgar Snyder's like Walt Disney. Like, he's like cryogenically frozen, right? Because I'm like, bro, how I remember he like looks the same since I was like a kid, right?
Hmm.
Like, for
Yeah.
real, Edgar Snyder's like ageless. Like, so,
As someone who's I'll probably look like when I'm about 45, I'll probably look like that until I'm about dead. So,
Oh, good for you.
no, it will not be good for me.
Guys, what a way to end up this week's episode. And as we discussed, next week we'll come back with our review of Star Wars Visions. And until next week, guys, this is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.